Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user educationalpic386. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that my stepdaughter can't return home until she pays my daughter back? I, 30 female, have a 14-year-old daughter, Leia. I married my husband Mark, 46 male, 6 years ago. He has 2 children from a previous marriage. Koi, 16 male, and Cora, 14 female. Mark and I have the kids full time, but his kids live with their mom for a few weeks during the summer. They moved into my lake house, which has 5 bedrooms. 2 of the bedrooms upstairs have bathrooms, and my daughter had one of those rooms. But as the girls began high school, Coral began complaining about not having a bathroom and said it was unfair. Mark and Koi told her to stop complaining. Leia said it was fine and asked us if she could turn the basement into her room. I didn't like that idea, but she begged. So I agreed. It turns out my daughter wanted a room makeover, so this worked out. We also gave the kids an allowance and allowed them to get a work permit. Koi worked at an arcade and told the girls he could get them jobs. Coral refused to work, but Leia agreed. After 5 months of working and saving her allowance, she was able to buy everything she needed to decorate. Coral never bothered to go down there because she believed it was full of spiders, but Koi was down there every day helping her. After a week, she completely transformed the basement. She invited everyone down and it was stunning. I didn't even know that computer towers could be transparent. She looked so proud. Coral then screamed that it wasn't fair and that she wanted the basement now. Everyone began yelling at her and she began to cry. Before we knew it, she ran over to the computer and threw the tower on the ground. The glass shattered and one of the monitors fell to the floor, also breaking. My daughter cried. I explained to Mark that Coral has to pay for this. He said her emotions were just high and that we'd get situated when everything calmed down. I ran to Coral and yelled, saying that she was going to be punished. Mark didn't agree, but I didn't care. Coral was unnecessarily crying and ran to her mother's car. Koi was trying to help my daughter and Mark tried to hand her $300. But Koi explained that Coral had cost about $1,000 worth of damages. He said luckily the expensive pieces in the case were saved, but the case itself was about $450 and the monitor was like $200. Mark explained that he didn't have that kind of money. So I said, well, she couldn't come back until my daughter's stuff was repaired, and with a sincere apology, Koi agreed. And Mark was upset, saying he couldn't do that to his daughter. I told him to leave if that's the case. Mark left for a few hours and handed my daughter a check for $1,000. I explained that Coral couldn't come back if there was no punishment. My husband's ex-wife is saying that I'm banning her from our house because she didn't deserve that bigger space and that we were treating Coral unfairly. But I said Coral did that and there was nothing unfair about the situation. The ex just hung up. Now my husband's ex-in-laws are bombarding him with phone calls saying he's a horrible dad. His sister even said he's being a bad parent and they are best friends, so it's really getting to him. This happened last night and he hasn't gotten up yet. Should I apologize? Am I the a-hole? No, OP, you are not the a-hole. You are the only one holding Coral accountable for what she did. She ruined your daughter's stuff. The correct thing is that she pays for them and apologizes for doing so. She's a 14-year-old girl. She's old enough to be able to control her temperament. And Mark, well, he's just being an enabler and actually a bad parent. Trying to excuse his daughter, oh, her emotions are just running high, let her have a meltdown, let her break everything, and once everything is tempered again, we can have a conversation. That's not the way to go. That's the kind of behavior you need to shut down and correct, or else you end up with an entitled kid that nobody wants to ever hang around, or in the future has a really tough time having adult relationships or even holding down a job. So just disregard everything the ex-wife is saying and the ex-in-laws. I don't know why they're in this thing. No, OP, you are not the a-hole. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. The World is on Fire 8377 says, not the a-hole. Coral sounds like a spoiled brat, and Mark needs to realize that at 14 she should have a better handle on her emotions than throwing a tantrum because someone else has something nice that she wants. She absolutely should apologize for behaving like a toddler, and Mark needs to stop coddling his kid. At least the older brother seems to have a clue. Let him stew in his feelings, maybe he'll get some insight into why his dismissive parenting isn't doing anyone any favors. R. Brown 4929 says, you have a husband problem. Your stepdaughter has a father problem. I don't think you can say she can't come back until she pays your daughter back, but your husband paying your daughter solves nothing. She needs therapy, needs to get a job and pay back her father, needs to sincerely apologize to your daughter, and needs strict boundaries. I don't think her father will do any of that. Good luck, not the a-hole. And Julia X 1984 says, not the a-hole. He could solve all of this by actually disciplining his kid and getting her therapy. I'm glad he paid your daughter back. That's what the law would do. A 14-year-old can't be made to pay anything, so it's the parent's responsibility. But that's just not the end of it. By the way, he also needs to pay for a good lock for her room before his daughter is allowed back. Additional information from OP's comments. Neither Coral nor Mark acted this way until Coral started high school. The girls were best friends, and Mark and I always agreed on how to handle the kids. Also, me and Coral were really close because we have similar interests. In fact, this was a problem when the girls were 10. But everything was solved. Everywhere Leia goes, Coral goes, and vice versa. Me and my husband have been married for 6 years, and she has never displayed this behavior. I guess because Coral has never been a mean kid, he doesn't know how to handle it. I can't punish her, that's the problem. If I could punish her, then she could come back, but my husband doesn't want to punish her, and neither does her mom. Now, Coral has somewhere else to go, her mom's place, but Leia doesn't, and Leia is not about to be walking on eggshells in her own home. I don't care about the cash, I just want her to apologize to my daughter, that's all. Now, to the stepchildren out there who see their evil stepmother in my post, I'll say this. A high school freshman shouldn't complain. At her mother's house, she has her own room with a bathroom. Leia was nice enough to switch from the room she had been in her whole life. And Coral literally yelled at everyone when Leia didn't agree at first, then threatened to start rumors about her. So we felt helpless and gave in once. I'm not about to do that again. And Coral should absolutely be yelled at for doing it a second time. My daughter worked hard for that stuff and shouldn't be constantly terrorized for earning it. The basement was cold and bland. Coral was actually offered the basement first because there's a bathroom down there that no one uses. Her dad even offered to pay to have it decorated. But she didn't want it because she thought there were bugs down there. So the girls had the same opportunities. She could have easily decorated her room if she worked with her sister. I hope that if someone damages your kids' stuff that they worked for, you all protect them, not enable the person who does wrong. Also, for the record, the computer case was a fancy one. Koi said it was. It had a touch screen on the front. I'm not sure how much it costs, but it seems like it costs more than $450 actually. Alright, well, the majority of the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole, and apparently there were some people there who were saying that OP was an evil stepmother or something like that. And in OP's additional context, we understood that the girls did have the same opportunities. I mean, Coral was offered the basement as well. If she would have just put in a little elbow grease or some initiative like Leia, she could have had something just as nice or even better if she wanted. In any case, we've got 2 updates to this story, so let's move on with the first one. But before that, if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Now, let's continue with the first update. I found out the complete story, and there is a lot of drama. It's over a boy. So both of my daughters are cheerleaders, and there's a Valentine's Day dance coming up. All of Coral's friends are cheerleaders, and they all date football players except her. So, for the past month, her friends have been trying to hook her up with Brad. But it turns out he is interested in Leia. After all the games, Brad is seen talking to Leia. So, Coral came up with a rumor that Leia plays Roblox. It's not really a rumor, but Brad found out. So after school, a few days before the incident, Coral tells Brad how childish Leia is for still playing Roblox. And Brad said he doesn't think it's childish. Turns out, he and his friends play and then invited Leia to join them. Then, yesterday after school in the hallway, Brad and his friends record this big proposal to the dance that included flowers and chocolate, and Leia accepted. Apparently, Coral was crying at cheerleader practice, and Leia went up to ask what was wrong and if she needed anything. Coral and her friends started cursing Leia out, so Leia just backed off. Then, this morning, Coral posted on Facebook about how Leia is the favorite child and that she, Coral, was kicked out of her decorated bedroom in order for Leia to have it. Her mom, Drea, had also posted something similar. Coy didn't want this to ruin Leia's reputation, so he posted the truth and exposed their lies. He also posted a picture of the shattered case and explained how everything Coral said was a lie and how Leia was nice enough to give up her bedroom. Drea also called us some horrible names. Then, Coy responded that the reason the custody is no longer 50-50 is because Drea's husband hates kids. Apparently, Coral didn't know this, but Drea sent my husband a text saying he knows how her husband feels about the kids being there, so he needs to make up with Coral and let her come home. Mark then screenshot this and sent it to Coral. She came home and went straight to her room. She skipped practice. Leia is on her way, so when she gets home, we'll have a family meeting. Alright, well, now we know the reason why Coral was acting out. Of course, it doesn't excuse anything, but at least we know what's going on. So let's move on to the final update to see how OP, Mark, and everybody dealt with this situation. So we had a long talk. Coral came down, apologized to Leia, and admitted that she was jealous about Brad. She also apologized to me for lying to her aunt. She believed that Leia got everything she asked for. So I asked her to explain, and the only thing she said was Brad. As I was about to talk to her, Mark stepped in and told her that wasn't everything. He explained everything Coral got, which included a room makeover which Leia had to pay for on her own. He also told her how she got a brand new laptop after Leia had to pay for her entire computer setup. He then asked if this was really about a guy that she didn't have anything in common with. Coral then told us how popular he was and that because Leia is a nerd, they don't mesh. Other than cheerleading, Leia is in Quiz Bowl and a robot making club. Leia told us that now that football was over, Brad was also into those clubs and so were his friends whom the other cheerleaders dated. Coral then began crying again because after the Facebook post, her friends explained that their boyfriends didn't want to be involved with a liar and advised them to stop hanging out with her, so they didn't sit with her at lunch today. Mark calmly told her that it was her own doing. She broke down and said, "I know." Mark then held her in her arms, apologized for sending her the screenshot, and explained that I wasn't the bad guy. She then said that Drea told her that I forced Mark to get full custody so that we all could be one big happy family. So that, along with the Brad situation, made her lash out. She then ran to hug me, saying how sorry she was, and looked at Leia and apologized again. I brought up family therapy and everyone agreed. Coral took the post down already and apologized to Leia publicly. I'm choosing a safe environment for everyone. Mark paid the money and emotions were all over the place. We'll work out a punishment tomorrow. I know things are looking up, but without friends and this situation with her mom, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Well, Opie, I'm gonna call this a happy update because in spite of all the drama, both Coral and Mark apparently grew and understood what they were doing wrong and made amends. Now, I could be wrong, but the thing about Coral losing her friends, I wouldn't think it lasts. I mean, maybe Leia could help her out by publicly accepting her apology and trying to smooth things out with the other cheerleaders. In any case, again, it's a good ending for you and your family, so on that note, here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thank you so much for sharing and take care. And now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Pro Revenge, and it's by user LagomorphLover. Got $40,000 for accidentally confiding a secret to a gossiping coworker. I worked at a chain salon in the US for minimum wage plus tips. We got paid on a sliding scale. The more you added services, the more your hourly pay. Then, for back to school, we started offering $10 haircuts. It's dumb to offer a big discount on back to school because that's when everyone needs a haircut, but whatever. Now, to advertise this sale, we had to stand on a rickety step stool and hang a 10-foot long, 3-foot wide banner off the roof of our store. The step stool alone made it a dangerous task, but on top of it, the sidewalk was uneven. Our manager insisted we do it twice a day, open and close, in case someone steals the banner. Certainly, someone would want to steal a banner with our logo that says $10 haircuts. It was annoying, but I was looking forward to my paycheck. I had a high service dollar per hour, which would have meant a bigger hourly pay and paycheck, except it didn't. That $7 haircut discount, it was coming out of our final service dollar calculations, and we ended up making significantly less than usual. I'd worked there for years, and this was the smallest back-to-school paycheck I'd ever seen. I went in the next day and was pissed. That morning, a co-worker, a total brown-nosed gossip, and I were outside setting up the banner. It was my turn to stand on the rickety step stool, and I said I was glad this would be the last time I ever do this. I was fully prepared to make a joke about how I was going to fall and crack my head open when the petty revenge idea came into my mind, and I swiftly executed it. When she asked why, I told her not to tell anyone, but I'd accepted a job at another salon with a set schedule, higher commission, and $5 more an hour. I said I'd planned on putting in my 2 weeks, but they needed me to start sooner, so I was going to work the weekend and not come back. This would leave us understaffed for the back-to-school rush. After reiterating she could not tell anyone, especially our boss, she agreed. I left early that day, and on my next shift, my boss pulled me into her office. She said she'd heard a rumor that I was leaving to work at a different salon. I told her I had a much better offer elsewhere, but if she could match that, I would love to stay. She had to call our district leader about the raise, but said I could work with a set schedule starting the following week. I was working until 9 p.m. some days and at 9 a.m. the next. The unpredictable schedule made finding childcare a pain in the ass. Now, I was consistently ranked number 2 in sales for our store and the district, so the district leader approved the raise and I stayed there for another 5 years. This means I got an additional $39,000 in pay for accidentally telling the salon gossip my secret. I also got a 20% commission on $500 to $1,000 a week in product sales. But here's the pro revenge. I also started printing out my service sales slip from the day before at the beginning of every shift, so that when payroll readjusted the paychecks to include coupons, I could pull up my record and dispute it. According to payroll, there was nothing they could do about it. I stayed another 5 years, raising the issue sporadically until they brought back the $10 haircut sale and I quit. A few months after I left, I was made aware that a different employee in another state filed a class action lawsuit and I got a letter asking if I wanted to be a part of it. I accepted, and the lawyer loved receiving 5 years worth of documentation, emails from corporate and payroll, etc. They had to go back through all of my paychecks and compensate me for the difference. This included adding the free haircuts, reward program, and discounted haircuts as their whole amount, increasing the dollar service. 19 cents an hour here and 30 cents an hour there added up, and despite the fact that the settlement was split with a lot of people, I got $10,000 from that in addition to my adjusted pay. which was around half the settlement amount. Well, OP, this story was twofold. Not only did you get to use the work gossip to amp up your pay, but you also were part of the lawsuit that got you what you deserved. So I guess the only thing to say is, congratulations, OP, and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.